Hi, this is Holger Marjamaa, and today we're gonna talk about advanced harmony techniques for jazz musicians. I grew up with Black American music and classical music, and especially from like Black American culture, jazz, gospel, R&B, soul, and so on. I learned a lot and fell in love with the colors of harmony, how they were voicing every note, how harmony has lots of inner movements and so on. And it reminded also a lot of like Rachmaninoff's music for me whenever I heard great organ players, for example. So I'm trying to give my best and show what I have learned over the years and what I truly love about harmony. So let's jump into some of my favorite harmony techniques, what you can integrate into your own playing. All of the techniques what we are going through today, you can check out in my new resource with jazz lesson videos. It's called Advanced Harmonic Techniques for Jazz Musicians. So the first technique we're going to talk about now is a modal technique. So here in this example, modal playing, I took an example from McCoy Tyner's Passion Dance, which is they play over only one chord. It's F7 or F sus7 or F sus13. But it's very important to know that whenever we play even like one chord groove, is it modal, is it, I don't know, James Brown, Payback, that there is always a connection between the one chord. So basically, if it's F sus13 or F13, you can always play this when you see the marking F13 or F sus13. And it's important to know that when I voice the four chords, that I'm also thinking about the second. So F sus would be like a fifth for C minor. And I'm playing basically around, but the C is always like a ghost note. But whenever I comp, I think about these things. So, but I don't play the C, so it's, and the voicing I take is also C minor 7, C minor 11 basically. So what chord? And I move them diatonically. And you can move like this. Always remember, harmony has to be very melodical. So the connections, for example, between the 5 chord, it has to be melodical. There is always a connection, and the question is, how do I land back in the one chord, which is right now F sus13? And there are like many ways to come back and to this chord. So for example, instead of playing the 5 chord, you can which could be fifth. And when you play, for example, I play solos, then there has to be a question and an answer. So basically, I can change the 5th chord also like silent 2-5-1, which is F13, G13, which is like a second, G flat 13, which is basically fifth from the tritone sub. So voicing is the same. And that all is happening while actually bass player and the whole band plays just the one chord, the F sus chord. But so much can happen, and this way your solo lines will be much more interesting because you are actually going through changes, and harmonically you have so many more options to expand. Now we're gonna talk about melodic harmonization. And with this, for example, I kind of took the simpler examples, and I'm gonna just try to explain them. So first of them is just basically D flat minor 9 from up to down. And the question is, for example, if you see that kind of a line, of course, it always depends on the context, on the style, so on. Also depends if it's only for piano, if I play on organ, or if I write for strings. It's a little different. But the pad sound basically for this. A trick is also sometimes to leave out the bass notes on the piano, so you get more movements, and bass notes also start moving titanically, which is great. So you can start from here or do this and here. In the resource there are 25 examples of that kind of exercise to help you integrate that concept into your playing. Next, we're going to talk about using block chords on standards. So for me, whenever I hear, for example, Oscar Peterson Night Train, or whenever I hear Milestones, and of course the very famous Red Garland version of Billy Boy, these are the best ways to learn block chords. And for me, I learned a lot from Mr. Peterson and Mr. Garland. So basically, when we take 12-bar blues in F, what's a very typical thing, what Red and Oscar Peterson did, for example, F7, left hand, you keep very similar close, and on the right hand, you have an octave, and in the middle, you can add 6 or 5, both maybe, or just like this. And you move them around. And here I did 5 and. In the new resource, there are 6 etudes where I play block chords on standards. So if you want to dive deeper into the concept of block chords, that will be a great reference for you. Now let's talk about all the variations you can resolve your 5-1 chord. So much of modern music revolves over 2-5-1 chord progressions. Whenever you can come up with your own unique ways to resolve them, it will add so much to your music. There are 25 examples in the resource talking about exactly the same 5-1 connection. For example, and what I did here is I take so 2-5-2-1 C major. I take D minor 7 flat 5, going to G 7 sharp 5 sharp 9, and to B major over C, which resolves. And melodically, I like to use here, for example, next, let's talk about harmony shifting grooves. So what I like to do is, for example, this absolutely fantastic song called Shograu, and it's a Brazilian tune, right? So that is how it kind of should be, right? But what I like to do harmonically is to start playing over the bar lines and kind of like arranging at the moment with harmonies, all the inner movements. Instead of playing the groove, what I just showed before, I'm playing over the bar lines. And when the harmony is like this, you can add so much. 5 chords, dominant chords, can also sound very fresh if instead of playing dominant, you play it into major. Even like playing the second chord, the minor chord, going to 5, you play the minor chord into major. So it's like a dominant to a dominant. For example, when you look at the other exercises or resources where I talk about how important it is that you have melodies inside harmonies, because then the music becomes alive. And I think with this example, you will learn a lot how to play in time, how to play over the bar lines, and also that the harmony would move logically. And yeah, I hope you will learn something from it. Now let's talk about enhanced vamps. Sometimes it can get old when you just play 1 or 2 chords. So here are some examples how you can enhance the harmony. For example, B flat 7, E flat 7. And another thing, of course, sometimes play just whatever the music needs, of course. But whenever I see like B flat 7 or E flat 7 marking, I pretty much play into 13 or sus 13 right away. If it's like B flat 7, I rather play. And again, melodies inside. So if you see like only B flat 7, E flat 7, there's so much, again, how you can connect these 2 chords. First of all, rhythm. How to play over the bar lines, but it has to feel good. Whatever you play, whatever style, it has to feel good. Number 1, with good rhythm. And then you can add, for example, there are 2 chords, but you can, add your own reharms. For example, going from B flat to E flat. So the last section is kind of like gospel-ish piano playing, which goes back to also like gospel, blues. It's all so connected. Also with jazz harmony and jazz music, it's all one family tree. So it's not separated. And that's why I think I also like to bring these styles together so that you can understand that this music is not divided and it's not in a separate box, so to speak. It's all one. You can take exactly the same jazz harmony techniques and put it into gospel music because it's filled with amazing, beautiful voicings, inner voicing movements, harmonies, and they have lots of 2/5s there. So harmonically speaking, I come strongly, for example, when I take classical music, I come strongly from Rachmaninoff's school, which Rachmaninoff had like also beautiful melodies, incredible harmonies. For example, Rachmaninoff's third piano concerto, second movement, intermezzo, and harmonically, for example, melodies are beautiful, right? But what left hand is doing at the same time. Inner melodies, inner movements, and that is, and when you put it together, you don't even hear the left hand, but it gives a movement. And with jazz, I like to use that kind of and harmonically speaking, it's so similar, you know, from like Johann Sebastian Bach to Rachmaninoff to Shostakovich, from Art Tatum to McCoy, Herbie, you know, also like another dimension of harmonies, from gospel players, you know, Wendell Love and amazing masters like that. It's all about the movements, and as in like Rachmaninoff, the inner movements, also in gospel music. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I hope you learned something from today. Make sure to check out the new resource, Advanced Harmony Techniques for Jazz Musicians, which has extensive examples of all the techniques we've talked about today. Thanks again for watching and see you next time.